So I know a lot of people thought I was hating FL Studio and hating ImageLine for dropping FL Studio 2025, but in reality, what I'm trying to save you guys from is, updating your DAW just to get disappointed and then you won't like the DAW. So I'm actually trying to prevent people from not liking the DAW. So what I want to discuss today is the problems with FL Studio 2025. The first problem, which is the biggest glaring obvious problem to a marketer, I'm a marketer, so I understand the business side of things, is when we go talking about marketing and content creation, people are going to call this FL Studio 25. And so when they have that kind of mental, the same way we call it NBA 2K25, we don't say NBA 2025 or 2025. You say NBA 2K25 or NBA 2K26 because, the next version of NBA 2K you get, you're expecting these new features, something different. Okay, you're expecting a brand new game worth spending $70 for. So when this nomenclature system that they're using, which is like to follow the year, because guys, you got to remember, we jumped from FL Studio 12 to FL Studio 21, and then they jumped from FL Studio 21 to 24, and then they dropped FL Studio 2025. So to the person who doesn't know where that name came from, they might not understand how we got from version 12 to 24 to 24 to 25. Or 12 to 21 to 24 to 25. They're going to think that it's light years ahead of FL Studio 11 and 12. And so they're going to think that they're left behind. But in reality, there aren't that many true differences for a music producer in hip hop. There are features that they've added, but to me, they're not so significant to where it justifies the name change. And this is where I had a personal issue with the update change because you guys have to step into my shoes. For example, I'm making content for FL Studio 2025. So when I make the content for it, because I have to stay updated with the DAW, so I'm making content for the latest, DAW. So in the title, it will say FL Studio 2025 tutorial name, whatever the tutorial is about. Now, the problem with that is it hurts my brand in some cases because people who are on FL Studio 12, they're like, wow, I should update to 25. Then they go to watch my videos and like, what's changed about 25? And they're not intrigued with updating. So now they fall off the content, and the content is the reason people even go to find interest in an FL Studio. So that's why I had an issue with them updating that nomenclature, is because it hurts their audience growth, in my opinion, as a marketer. I'm not saying this as a personal beef. I'm not saying it as a hater. I'm pointing out objective facts from the market's perspective. Now, the next thing that I think FL Studio needs to work on is the rendering problem. Now, a lot of you guys, regardless if you agree with me on point one, this is the problem that you guys can agree on. When you render from FL Studio, it adds that little latency. Even if you do a WAV file, it adds like this tiny latency. So when I went to do null tests, for example, the WAV files wouldn't even line up with Logic Pro, wouldn't line up with Ableton. Even if I chopped out that silence and dragged everything back, it's like the conversion out of FL Studio is way different than everything else. It wouldn't even null. So that alone is kind of weird coming out of FL Studio. It needs to be observed. And maybe I'll do a deeper video showing you guys the like exact thing I'm talking about. But for people who make samples, which is the majority of you guys, and make loops, you know that when you render it to WAV, it offsets. Like, let's say you make a loop at 100 BPM, you'll render it to a WAV. And now MP3s are known to have silence in the beginning. That's why I keep saying WAV file. You'll render it to a WAV. You drag and drop it into another DAW at 100 BPM, and it's like offbeat. And it's hard to stretch and time stretch and do all these things when everything's offbeat. So it makes it very difficult for loop makers to make their content out of FL Studio, which again is hurting FL Studio. Now, again, they can just simply slice out the silence by themselves. But even when you render with the PDC, it says like strip PDC or plug-in delay compensation, whatever it's called. Strip the silence in the beginning of the sample doesn't do it. And even if you do it manually, remember, like I said, if I render from Logic Pro, it gives me a certain file. If I render from FL, even if I chop out the silence and I line it up, it does not create the same waveform. I don't know what they do on the back end, but it does not print the same. So when people say the DAW sounds different, it literally doesn't even print the same as other DAWs. And I'll probably do a video about that. So long story short, FL Studio crashes as per usual. I can't trust FL Studio to host a recording session. Now, I'm not trying to, again, persuade people. I'm just trying to say the FL Studio has a lot more crashes than my other DAWs. And they introduced some new features like a deverb where you could basically take an echoey sound and take out the echo of the sound. But I tried to run that process and it took a very long time. I actually did it on a live stream so you guys could actually see how long it took. It took a very long time to use that process. That's menial. I'm not going to hold that against them. They're introducing something new. I just think, as far as developers and FL Studio's marketing team, I think they have a leadership problem. And this is my personal opinion. People said I was hating for it, but we have to look at the obvious signs. It's like we're getting a lot of things that we didn't ask for as far as the hip hop community. Maybe EDM people asked for this. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like FL Studio is truly innovating. It just feels like they're doing stuff and just throwing it at the wall and seeing if people like it, which is fine. I just don't think they should change the name from, again, FL Studio 24 to 25 because people get excited about a name change, but the delivery is it's kind of like, what is it? When you tell people not to expect anything great and then they meet you and you're a great person, they're like, wow, he's such a great person, greater than I ever expected. That's the feeling you want to give to your audience. You don't want to promise the world to your audience and how you're such a great person and then they meet you and you're a piece of crap. Because then it's like, wow, my expectations for you were up here and you delivered down here. And that's kind of how I felt about FL Studio 25. We have to treat it almost like a stock in the stock market at this point. If they're claiming the flagship, one of the, what did they say, premier dolls? I forget their wordage on their website, but they basically said they're one of the world's greatest dolls. If you claim that title, you got to live up to that title. So that's just from a consumer's point of view. Personally, I think their competition is getting very stiff. BandLab is taking all the mobile audience. I could tell you guys downstairs, there's a big bottleneck because BandLab is free on the mobile. And FL Studio, I believe you have to pay for FL Studio Mobile. So that's already a block right there. But for two, BandLab is just quick. It's easy. It gets straight to the sounds. They have kits like by Jay Black in there and a bunch of modern loops and sounds. So they're very up with the market as far as, the sound selection is very good. It's very easy to use. It's almost like the feeling you get when you open up Robinhood versus Charles Schwab or Fidelity app or what's the other ones, Public or Webull. It's like those look confusing. The Moomoo app looks super confusing. But if you open up Robinhood, it looks super easy to understand. So that's the same thing BandLab is, in my opinion, in the mobile app area. Now, will people ever see BandLab as a serious DAW? I'm not sure. But we have to keep in mind that the schools are integrating BandLab into their curriculums because you don't need to download it. I mean, you do technically download it, but there's no hard process of downloading. They could use the cloud and all that type of stuff. Schools find it safe is my point. Whereas FL Studio on every computer, it's, you got to really sell the curriculum on that one. So at the ground level, I know a lot of people aren't this deep into marketing and business and all this, but at the core ground level of FL Studio, as far as new people coming in, that's been shifted to another app. So if you can't really get the new people coming in, you don't really have the sophomores and the juniors and the seniors. You're just going to have less and less of that thing. And FL Studio is known for its ease of use. So if we're marketing to beginners, basically, and somebody else is stealing the marketing for the beginners, there goes the entire audience that we're building this stuff for. And then that's why we get these random features coming out, where it's like, who is doing this workflow? So that's just my perspective on it. Again, I understand that not everybody's going to understand my perspective. They could say I'm hating, but I'm pointing out objective things that make a product not good. Okay. Now here's one I got to show you guys because you won't believe this one. So this one is the biggest headache. So for example, if you turn on this typing keyboard to piano and you try to type in Omnisphere, it won't work. You'll be typing and you're like, what is happening? Even if you click this little button in the top right here, it still doesn't, you can't type. So you have to turn this button off to type. Now, the issue is now I'm hitting backspace, as you guys can see, and it's changing my snap to grid. Okay, as you guys can see that right there. And I'm hitting R, typing R, and it just triggered the record button. So I don't know what button turned this on, but at some point they created some quick shortcut trying to be like Logic where you press a button and it does stuff. And that messes up, it overrides what we're trying to do inside the plugin. So now I literally cannot use Omnisphere because FL Studio overrides it with their own shortcuts. This is a huge headache. Okay, now I can press R, but before it wouldn't let me press R. Maybe because it thinks I'm in this view. So now we have to click inside the window. And you guys see this in real time. I'm pressing R. It triggered the recording button again. There's no rhyme or reason to this. So now I can press backspace. Okay, now I can press R. But if I click out, so let's do this like a real producer would. Okay, they open up Omnisphere. They're typing R. You're clicking in the field. You're hitting R. Nothing's happening. Now it won't even let me click in the field. Okay, so this is like the quirkiness of FL Studio 2025 that I think needs to be addressed, because I couldn't even see it just crashed. You guys just saw that in real time. And it's not just with Omnisphere either. It's with mixing plugins too. Let me show you guys. All right, so it happens with mixing plugins too. Mixing plugins kind of are reliant on us typing in stuff into the mixing plugin. So you go to, click in the value here. You're like, okay, I just need this at 2 dB. You hit 2 and it works here. But if you turn this keyboard on, okay, now your backspace button doesn't work. Or you turn the keyboard off. You're still hitting backspace and it's not, like, you can't do anything. So it really messes up the workflow. Like on a huge level, it messes up the workflow, because now I truly can't even use plugins anymore in FL Studio because of this. And so it's a huge, huge, huge problem with this update. Another huge problem though is let's say standard clip is behind everything and I pull up the piano roll. If I start clicking near standard clip, I don't know how to actually trigger this. So I'm gonna just kind of click stuff around like I normally would. But in FL Studio, see how that window just popped up? I'm clicking on the playlist and it's clicking inside of standard clip. And it's not just standard clip, it's with any plugin. For some reason, it goes in the plugin and it's like triggering the plugin window. So they have a lot of issues to work out in FL Studio. How do I get out of this screen? I don't know how to get out of this screen, but they have a lot of issues to work out. Like this isn't even on detach mode. Let's see if detach mode changes anything. I don't even know where I clicked. Where was I at? Let's open up standard clip. All right, so I'm going to aim for somewhere. I don't know what button I press, so I'm just going to aim for like right here under 14 and 15. Let's try to recreate this. Okay, so maybe detach fixes it because I don't see it popping up, but that happens a lot. Okay, so that's tedious if we have to add detach to every single plugin just for it to not trigger behind stuff. But you guys saw it in real time how it just triggered the menu without even looking at the plugin. And that's a huge, huge problem, because now we can't use mixing plugins. We can't type into Omnisphere. We can't search up sounds. A lot of plugins nowadays allow you to type values, and it's kind of critical for the workflow. So I can't tell you how many times I've been clicking around FL Studio and I clicked something and didn't know that it was changing a whole preset. So now my sound changed and I'm like, what changed? And it changed the whole preset, and you can't just undo every plugin. You're gonna have to load the project back up to go back to your old preset. So that is a huge problem that they actually need to fix. And you guys saw that in real time. It even crashed the DAW, me trying to recreate the problem. So there's problems with FL Studio 2025, and they had many beta versions to kind of debug. I don't know why they keep rushing these, like FL Studio 26, FL Studio this. It's just like, I don't understand why they keep doing it. I understand they're trying to push cloud, but I think if they just simply focus on cloud as a separate thing and stop trying to push it as FL Studio, people will respect it a little bit more and they might dabble into it. I think they're pushing FL Studio, but they're pushing cloud, and it's like nothing really changed about FL Studio. I already feel like, this is my opinion, I already feel like they're putting way too much attention on mobile. You've already lost that audience. Just what's the point of mobile? Mobile doesn't really translate to FL Studio as far as workflow. It's very different on mobile. Yes, it looks the same, but like the mindset and all that is very different on mobile. I truly don't even teach people on mobile because it's just such a different product. And it's like, why are they prioritizing that and prioritizing FL Cloud and leaving FL Studio hanging when FL Studio is the main draw to the company? You know, that's just my opinions as a business owner. But you know, you got to think about the content creators too. We can't make content about something that is like underperforming. All right, y'all. So those are my opinions, but these are the real problems with FL Studio 25. People asking me, should they update? Keep in mind, it will install as a new app. So if you have the old FL Studio 24, it might be safer to use FL Studio 24. All right, y'all. Peace.